going on in the world, including myself.
Yeah.
And I think we lost the stream there. Oh, there it goes. All right. So you know, health-wise, I need to work on my health.
Mm.
I was at the doctor today, so that's the biggest challenge. With the pandemic and trying to stay. I think a lot of people put on a couple extra pounds. I think I did as well, and but it hasn't been that great. I think for a lot of people. So I think that hopefully things will start changing late further in the months down, and we can get back to normal because I think we need to. I think we're all done with this stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Exactly. Ooh. Hold on. Oh, anyways, I gotta say, for me, just to from that all the way to all this is going on. Hey, we're we're getting we're recovering, and only we're getting an extra couple of pounds, but don't forget an extra beard.
Yep.
And not only that we are getting there, and we are slowly recovering. There are some stuff that needs to be done and stuff that we need to do, not just for personal but also our mental health and everything. But all in all, we can do this, and we can all reach for this. We all have our goals anyways.
What are my goals?
No, not we all have our what I said is we all have our goals, and we need,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we are reaching when we keep reaching for it.
yeah. Of course, of course.
And since you've been part of the streaming community, and you've been through a lot of communities, and uh, you have been on Twitch for a very long time. But first, you've been through you've been through a lot, and recently you've been known as Mikey Loves Retro, and just want to know what is the origin of your username.
All right. So the origin of my username. To talk about my username, we need to also talk about my past usernames and how I came up to this username and why I decided to go down this route. Okay, some people may have known me as Centauro, and Centauro was, I was very big influence with Star Wars, and I thought Star Wars would be a great direction for my stream, moving forward. Um, and I created a, user called Centauro, which that name came from playing Star Wars Galaxies, believe it or not, and um, it was because on Christmas Day I opened up my Jedi character, and I created the name. I said Centaur, Santa and Ross, so it was Centaur, and then I changed it to Centauro.
Mm.
So being Star Wars, I said, all right, let me do the Star Wars influence. That didn't work so well. So
Mm.
it wasn't. It was fun, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. I think because a lot of people on Twitch do Star Wars teams. Okay, a lot. There was a lot, and I'm like, all right, this is crazy. I thought this was going to be great.
Mm.
So I says, all right, you know what? Let me change it. And I went to, where some people know as Mikey Mama Luke because I'm Italian. I thought, my Italian flair, and Mama Luke is an Italian term that means silly, stupid, crazy
Mm.
kind of guy, and that's who I am. But and which I had a lot of success with, but there was a lot of controversy with that name and stuff like that. So I decided that I'm done. And here we go to Mikey Loves Retro, and why Mikey Loves Retro. A lot of my videos and a lot of people have always seen, wow, dude, you're a really big retro collector. You like old games, and I always loved old games, and I collected old games. I play a lot of old games. So Mikey Loves Retro is a better fit for me because that's who I am. And I'm like, fuck it, screw it. I'm gonna do what I want to do as a broadcaster, and I'm gonna play the games that I want to play, and just be myself. No more gimmicks. Okay, no more gimmicks. It was all a gimmick to put on a show for everyone. But I also, it tired me the hell out, and it wasn't who I felt like my niche. I needed like everybody says you need a niche on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought,
Yeah.
I know that my niche is retro gaming. I know a lot about retro gaming. I've been collecting since, a kid. My first console I played was on ColecoVision and Atari, and I played in television and further up, and Pong. So
Mm.
it's like, I need to enjoy what I'm doing. I need to go back to my roots of gaming. So that's how Mikey Loves Retro was born, and it just fit. So that's who I am now. That's who I want to be referred to, and I just love retro gaming in general because retro gaming will always be alive. In 20 years from now, oh, PlayStation 4, that's retro. Of course
Yeah.
it is. Years later, it plays retro and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's who I am.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sticking with right now. So that's what I like to be referred as from now on. So that's how the name came about.
Yeah, as you said that as 20 years from now, all of the games, all of the new releases will be retro. For example, 20 years from now or 30 years from now, Nintendo Switch will be part of history, or PlayStation 4 will be part of history. It will become more retro, or any game releases will be retro from now on. And I'm so glad that you are doing well with your retro gaming and retro collection, and I'm so happy for it.
Thank you.
And how did you join Twitch, and how's your streaming experience so far?
How did I join Twitch? Well, I knew about Twitch, or as Justin TV, but I didn't really know way too much. I just heard about it, and then I started watching a couple of streamers, and you know, and I just said, hey, you know what? What the hell, man? Let me throw my hat into this.
Oh,
You
but
know,
Mikey, before we continue, let's talk about a little bit about Justin TV. What was Justin TV like before Twitch came along?
it was very similar to what you see now with Twitch. Just a lot less of the features, a lot less of the cosmetic stuff that they put into it. And it's very hard to explain because I don't remember if it was web based at the time. I just heard rumors, and stuff about it on IRC chat and AOL stuff, and I'm like, what is this stuff? So I'm like, what is this? What are they talking about? I'm like, who is Justin? So
Mm.
I don't even know who Justin is. I'm like, all right, Justin Doctor. I'm like, all right, let's check it out. Check it out. So I checked it out. I'm like, this is garbage. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't watch this. What is this? And then slowly I started looking into it more when Twitch, became Twitch.
Mm.
So I'm like, oh wow, that was Justin TV. Holy cow! So once Twitch came along, that's when I started, watching it more and looking at it more. As far as my streaming experiences go, man, you could ask anybody in the chat. People know I've had my ups and downs
Yeah.
on streaming, and I think a lot of people who stream on this platform have had their ups and downs. I had some really high highs and very low lows. I had opportunities back then. I feel that when I first started streaming, I feel that I had an opportunity to apply for partnership before the 75. They added the 75 user base,
Mm.
because I was doing well, and a lot of people knew me because I utilized a lot of social media, especially Facebook,
Oh
with
yeah.
over 50,000 people in some of these Facebook groups, and I think I started becoming an influencer with a lot of people, and I didn't take that opportunity. You know, as like Eminem says, you only get one shot. Well, that was my shot, and I blew it because I let a lot of the um, negativity get into my who the streaming experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of negativity and a lot of negative outside stuff that can definitely influence
Mm-hmm.
you and how your stream is. So my experiences, yeah, I've had highs. I could talk about my highs. Where Friendly's not here. I met Friendly AF 88. Which he's done some cool stuff. During he heard about me not having a good birthday stream, so the following year he surprised me with a cool video of like a bunch of fellow streamers and people that I met. Just I broke down on stream. It was like I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. So meeting some cool friends. For example, some of them are in here right now. Gaming Grunt,
Oh
Mayhem
yeah.
District, Dolly Yan, Zodiac. I have met a bunch of cool people, and I also, when I was doing my interviews, and my podcast, Wine Talk, one of the biggest, another big highlight was I never expected to get a donation over $1,000 to put towards my stream, and that happened on when I was interviewing someone on my talk show, and that's donations are especially big ones like that are a huge up. Many have
Yeah, yeah.
donated a bunch to me lately as well, and
Exactly.
it's just crazy to see that something that I enjoy. People are wanting to to support you financially and donate money to you is it's freaking crazy,
Yeah,
and to
exactly.
have people.
True. Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go ahead. Exactly. I got your point.
Yeah, it's just crazy to see that something you love, just like playing video games, that somebody will actually come and support you financially to say, hey, yeah, go get that new video microphone, or go get that new camera, go get that new graphics card, go get that new computer you need, and it just boggles my mind that people are so willing to help total stranger technically. Okay, a total stranger technically who's playing video games, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just something to be. People don't understand how appreciative I am of that, and there's some people who and they expect that. There's some streamers that expect that, and I hate that. I hate that they don't appreciate the people just being there, willing, and financially supporting them, and the friends that they make through this experience. They just toss it like and use them, and I just hate that kind of
Mm-hmm.
those are the lows. I think those are the real streaming lows. Um, People just use a lot of people on this platform to put themselves up and don't appreciate that that the people that are actually there supporting them too. I think so. Streaming highs, I say, is meeting friends. The financial support that people give you is huge. Um, and the lows would have to be like people not showing up and just taking you for granted and just using you. I think it's just so horrible. um, but yeah, that's my streaming experience so far. It has its ups and downs, and I'm sure anyone in the chat will tell you,
Yeah.
everybody has had, some ups and downs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it happens with streaming, and most especially with streamer Twitter. But yeah, the best part about streaming and being part in a community is the support and the love and the appreciation. The old saying goes, the more you the more you love, and the more they support you, the more they give donations, the more chances that you improve and upgrade your stream. And yes, Mayhem just said that we all do have ups and downs, and that's true. Not just in streaming, but also in life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I'm so happy that despite that all the with all the ups and downs, the struggles and triumphs, and we're happy that I'm so glad that you're here and we're here and we keep on going.
I appreciate that. Trying. Definitely trying.
Yeah, you can do this. We can do this, man. We can do this. And who are the first streamers that you have watched and who inspired you to stream?
Oh man, the first streams that I could think of that I watch, man, that's tough.
It's
But
okay
I
if
could tell you,
it's okay if it's big or small, as at least you have some first streamers that you have watched. You can recall as you can.
yeah. Well, I could tell you, I could give you a couple of names, and some people may know. Gaming Grump may know one for sure. Um, the other ones, I don't think anyone in the chat will know. And but a couple of streams that I watched that I absolutely, I don't even watch them no more, which is the funny thing. And I
Hmm.
have reasons why I don't watch them anymore. But I used to watch Soda Poppin'. Um, I enjoyed his streams a lot. I thought it was very comedic, very funny. He was one that I watched a lot. I watched Doc Got Game. He's definitely one of the people that inspired me to stream. I think because I watched the hell out of him, and I really enjoyed his comedy, his routine. Um, and the other one was Duck Sauce, which literally he was another one that I used to watch, and I just loved watching. His voice had a very deep voice like that. Broadcaster on the radio, and
Oh.
and it was just so cool watching him and stuff like that. So those were the ones that I watched. I think when I first streamed, and I'm sure there's a lot of other ones I'm probably forgetting. But the inspiration I think wasn't really I don't think it really came from them. I think it came from myself of video games. My passion of video games and wanting to share, my experiences with everybody else. And I saw these people, I'm like, hell, screw it. If they can do it, why can't I?
Mm.
Why am I not doing this? Why, I see them doing it and having great success with it. I'm like, hell, I could do this too, and so I think the inspiration really came within myself to say, I really want to share my experiences of video games and my knowledge of video games with the rest of, Twitch and the world and whoever's willing to watch and listen. I'm willing to share those experiences and educate them on, what I've learned through video games and what games influenced me growing up, and that was something that I wanted to share. So I think that really was my inspiration. Not so much the streamers that I watched,
Mm-hmm.
but it gave me the put the thought process in my head to say, hey, you know what? I can do this too.
Mm-hmm.
So why not? And I went about to figure out, okay, what do I need to start streaming? Okay, how do I set up OBS? How do I,
Mm-hmm.
so basically, that was my inspiration. Was I'm seeing these guys play these games, but it was my passion that I wanted to share, and that it was my inspiration of video games that led me to you know start doing Twitch.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. By the way, why not wait for an opportunity? Why not wait for an opportunity if you can do it right now? You can do it right away. And I'm so glad that I can create content through streaming. I planned on making videos from the start when I was thinking about making content. But when Twitch came along, as I mentioned this before, when Twitch came along, uh, streaming has become part of make creating content, and I'm so glad to do this. And I'm so glad that there are streamers who helped me and inspired me to do this streaming thing. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met everyone in the chat, and I wouldn't have met uh, everyone in the community if it wasn't for this. Without this, I wouldn't be able to do this, and I wouldn't be able to meet people like you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely been an experience. So far, it's been a crazy experiences, and I'm still meeting a lot of different people and meeting a lot of different content creators. And I think I'm not at my best place right now, but I think in time, I could definitely get to a better place with my content. And I'm using other platforms to do that as well. So.
Mm. Although you have mentioned this before, and yes, as we said, that we all have our ups and downs. For you, what's the most difficult part of streaming? From the past interviews that I did, one of their most difficult parts of streaming, as based from my interviews, is consistency. Most especially, specifically, the streaming schedule. For you, what is your most difficult part of streaming?
I've been waiting for this question for since I saw it, and I'm gonna be blunt, and I'm sorry for people listening. Fuck consistency. Fuck. Okay. Fuck having a schedule. Screw that. All right. The difficult part about streaming, you want, and to be honest, I'm gonna give you the three most difficult parts of streaming right now: likability, staying relevant, okay, and content.
Mm.
Okay, those are the three difficult parts of streaming. All right. So if you're not liked, if people don't like you, okay, that's it. You're done. Okay, and that is the hardest part to get people to actually like you. Okay, if people don't like you, they're not gonna watch you. No matter what. Okay, staying relevant. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
staying relevant. There's people on here. Okay, and I'm not going to mention names
It's
because
okay.
I don't want to break any TOS, but they do things that will put them in the public spotlight on Twitter and have them talking and getting clout. We all know this happens because they're no longer relevant. Okay, so once that's how they keep, and great content. You know, having a schedule, people say consistency and stuff like that. I know a lot of streamers on this platform that are not consistent, don't have a schedule, and they do really well. It's because people like them, they have good content, and they stay relevant on different things. It could be relevancy on having world records for particular game and speed running, or they have great gameplay. There's a lot of things that can make them relevant, but I feel that there's a lot of the norm that people keep saying. Oh, what is the most difficult part about streaming, and not really thinking that, hey, you know what? Nobody talks about. Hey, do people like you? Are you a likable person?
Mm-hmm.
Are you easy to make friends with? Okay, are you gonna how relevant are you in Twitch? Because the more relevant you are, the more friends you have, and how good is your content?
Mm-hmm.
Because content sells, and if you're not producing great content, okay, and your content is lackluster, people get bored and stale. It only takes them a minute or two to say, you know what, I don't enjoy this. I'm out of here. So that to me, I think, is the most difficult part. Besides, the consistency schedule, because that's something you always hear. My health issues have been a problem, but if I don't be honest and tell you guys what I feel is the most three difficult parts of streaming, then I'd be doing you guys a disservice. My reputations have always been about honesty, so that's what I feel the three hardest parts of streaming is for anyone is likability, staying relevant, and producing great content.
Mm.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah. Whether good or bad shit on streamer Twitter, at least they find their ways to be relevant and make their own content. And how can I say this? I forgot. But yeah, I'll try to mention this. But ooh, yeah, that's the most interesting thing, you know. Ah.
Mayhem said it in chat too. I think that's a really interesting point. Not boring in the first 30 seconds and being good at what you do. It's so true because you know people. There's so many people on Twitch. Okay, there's so many people, and people will as what I like to call it is Twitch jumping, stream to stream. They'll jump to stream and try to find something that ooh that
Yeah.
that quick endorphin of like, wow, this is so cool. I never seen this before. And they'll keep jumping and jumping, and you only have that short window of time to impress somebody. So it's
Yeah.
super difficult on this platform, but is it fun?
Mm.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Everything is fun, but are you doing it? Are you doing it well? Are you doing it for fun? Are you doing it for your content? Are you doing it well? Are you doing it good? But yeah, I thought of one word, and that is evolving. If you want to keep on being relevant, if you want to stay on top, if you want to continue, keep on evolving. That's what I thought about it. That's what I thought about it at first.
Evolving?
Yeah, yeah,
Is that what you
evolving,
said? Evolving?
evolving.
Yeah. Well, right. Evolving. Right. Exactly. Because okay, I know I'm a big wrestling fan. I know you're a wrestling fan. And I'm glad you brought that up. And somebody, I kind of relate to like a Mick Foley, with all his characters, right? There was Dude Love, Cactus Jack,
Mankind.
Mankind. So that's why I kept doing it. Like, wow, if, it worked for them. They're always evolving their characters, and I think that's why I started changing my names too, because it got stale, it got boring. It's not what people wanted to see. So, I felt like I needed to change, and that's why I felt like I had to evolve to keep myself relevant. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard to keep yourself relevant because people, you know, even like in wrestling, like Mick Foley, certain people are attracted to one persona of that character and they
Mm-hmm.
miss that character. I hear a lot of people, dude, I loved Mikey Mama Luke. I loved, the characters and Tony and, Giuseppe and all that, and they miss that. It's like, man, you should really go back to doing that. Or, oh man, I really miss the Star Wars stuff when you did the Darth Vader and the lightsabers and stuff like that. So everybody's going to have their favorite moment and stuff like that of that character. But you got to feel comfortable with who you are and what you're doing, and evolving to the character that you see yourself being, not what people see you, because
Mm-hmm.
people will see something totally different.
You know that in yeah. Back to that topic. You know what's the one? You know what is? You know what? Who is the wrestler that keeps on going and stayed relevant for from all these years. One example aside from Mick Foley is Undertaker. You know, he's been a dead man for long, and then he went to being a biker, being the American badass, and then he went back to being the dead man, and then he went back to that. And another example is Kane. He went from being masked to being unmasked, and then back to being mass, and he went to being corporate, and so on and so forth. Yeah, evolution keeps on go. We need to evolve.
Oh, absolutely, you definitely need to evolve and stay. And I think but with the production is also they got a great production. So if you have a great production and a show, and you already have that celebrity status, okay, changing things, people will stick with you regardless. And it's knowing when to do that and how to do that. And I think that's why it worked for somebody like Mick Foley or an Undertaker, in wrestling and stuff like that. And I think that can be applied to the same principles here on Twitch. When can you start, changing and still being relevant? And timing is a big key. I know someone who started out here that I met, okay, and his streams were very low content. Went to YouTube, and the timing was right. He did Final Fantasy VII, and all he talked about was Final Fantasy VII and the remake of Final Fantasy VII. And people and his YouTube blew up. Comes to Twitch, started streaming and stuff, and his numbers are immaculate. Okay, so timing and stuff and change, of who you are definitely can play a big role in making it in this industry or not. So if the timing is correct and you have that momentum and that change, evolving
Mm-hmm.
to that person that people know you, you're good. So I think that's very important to understand that is that like timing is huge in this industry in any industry.
Yeah, yeah. We gotta, yeah, we gotta keep on doing making content, but on the right time and on the right place.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So yeah, let's move on. Yeah, you've been collecting retro gaming and also retro memorabilia and collection. When did you start collecting retro stuff? Most especially retro memorabilia.
When did I start collecting?
Yeah, when did you start collecting?
Um, you know, thing is, I never threw anything out. That's where it really boggles down to. I never threw anything out. I never traded anything back into the store. So my collection goes back as far as like Nintendo days, even earlier maybe because I never stopped to say, hey, you know what? Let me upgrade to this. I just kept everything. I did purchase things along the way that I wanted that I never had. My newest piece I picked up a couple of days ago was, which I never had growing up, was the Sega Master System, along with a couple of games, just because I wanted to play it, get the experience of the Sega Master System. Because when I was growing up, people, I had a Nintendo and Super Nintendo and so forth, and a lot of people had Sega. Other
Uh-huh.
people that I know had Sega. Some of my friends had Sega. They had the Sega Master System, the Sega CD, or TurboGrafx 16, and I was always jealous of them because I wanted to play those systems and experience, what the differences are. And I'm glad that I'm able to get some of these systems now that I didn't have back then. And Sega Master System, is definitely one that I wanted to check out. And I know it's doing actually. I just read an article and I was told that it still sells so well in Brazil. So it's shocking to hear how certain systems sell really well in one country and not as well in another country. But it's so cool, to know that hey, these things are still popular, and there's still a community and a fan base for retro consoles and retro gaming. But I never threw anything out, never sold anything, never traded anything, um, and I just kept my stuff. Growing up, I had them in bins. And then I
Mm-hmm.
decided, hey, you know what? I want to display this stuff, and I actually want to start playing them again. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Mm. Are those gaming consoles or memorabilia still working? If it's damaged or something's wrong, have you thought of repairing it?
Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Sorry. Uh, have, are your retro collection still working? Like the Sega or
Oh, all my stuff is working.
mm. If
I, I can't.
there's one gaming console that is damaged or not working, have you thought of, you know what, I should repair it? Because I've watched some old gaming consoles being restored and being repaired. Have you thought of doing it?
I actually do. I actually do. If I'm able to do something myself, I try. I mean, I've repaired games that the battery, because a lot of these old games have a batteries backup save. So I have, taken it out, soldered a new battery in, replaced the battery, cleaned them up. I've gotten games that haven't worked that people are like, oh, this doesn't work. And, I would clean them up and get them to work. I've had, I cleaned out many, consoles and get them to work. I mean, if I'm capable and I feel confident enough, I will attempt to repair the console myself or repair the games myself. And if not, I will try to, find a buddy of mine or someone that I trust to actually take a look at it and fix it. And I have done that. There was a Game Gear that was left, in my possession that didn't work at all. And a buddy of mine is very good with electrical stuff and electronics, and and he said, hey, yeah, I'll definitely fix that for you. I'll take a look at it, and replaced all the capacitors, put a new screen, put a new thing, and it works great.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I really want something and I have something that hasn't worked, then I will go and get it fixed, or I'll buy a brand new one. I'll go out and get a new one. But for the most part, knock on wood, I take care of my stuff. I try to take care of my consoles. I try to take care of my games as good as possible to make sure that they working and ready to play whenever I need them. So I teach that to my kid as well. It's like, listen, we got new games, we got new consoles, we got new gen stuff. So we take care of the stuff. Put the game back in the case. Grab the CD the proper way. Take out the CD from the disc. From the console. Put it back in its case.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. Where people just throw the games. I'm like, I get so irate when I see people just toss games or games lying on the table empty and the cases. Like, that frustrates me as a collector and as a gamer. Is like, people don't appreciate them and just, well, I got a warranty on it, so if it breaks, I'll just get another one. That mindset annoys the hell out of me. It's like, no, you bought it, it's yours, treat it well. Okay, so then, later on, whenever you want to play it, it still works.
And that is why, remember, kids, if you are a collector, whether you're a retro collector or a gaming collector, treat it like it's your girlfriend. Treat it well. Treat it like treat it like it's a member of a family.
Absolutely.
And what is the first game that you have ever bought and played?
I cannot tell you. I don't even remember. I'm 40 something years old. I've been gaming. I can tell you. I can tell you the first one that I remember playing in the arcade. Okay.
Oh, I miss the arcade. I miss the arcade days. I miss the arcade days. Hopefully, when things go back to normal, we could play at the arcade. We have an arcade at the mall. That is the the only arcade at our local mall. It's called Worlds of Fun. They have lots of arcade games like Tekken Tag Tournament. They're mostly into Tekken, and they also have Street Fighter. There are also lots of cool arcade games. Not only that, they also have a karaoke at the arcade. But yeah, since the pandemic, they're closed at the moment. But hopefully, when things go back to normal, I could have a chance to visit there. So yeah, brings back memories.
Yeah, the earliest arcade game I remember playing was Pac-Man and of course Donkey Kong. That's where a lot of my influence. Donkey Kong was definitely one of the most memorable games to me and stood out the most. I love Donkey Kong. I remember playing a lot of Donkey Kong, and I saw it in like a regular mall. There was when arcades were still being placed in malls and shopping centers and delis and arcades for me. I loved playing arcade games, and a lot of arcade games that I played I absolutely love to this day and are some of my favorites. But Donkey Kong was definitely when I saw Donkey Kong, I remember seeing it, and I'm like, I don't even know how old I was. I definitely was very young, and I had to get like, mommy, give me some quarters. I need to play this game, and it was so freaking cool. Pac-Man, that too. Like, not even the arcade stand-up Pac-Man, but I remember playing the tabletop Pac-Man, the flat one, the flat screen, and remember playing some of that stuff. And I think that's something this generation, is never going to experience, is walking into a mall and seeing
Oh,
arcade games, or
yeah,
walking into a bodega or a deli and
true.
seeing arcade
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
It's because consoles, and home computing and gaming has moved from outside, to the inside the
Side.
home, where it just evolved so much that everybody's got a PS4 or PS5 or the new Xbox. Nobody's going to go put quarters in arcade games
Oh,
anymore. But I think, people need to like realize how awesome that experience is, and without arcade games and those old classic video games, and I don't think we would have a Sony PlayStation or Xbox machine, or stuff like that now, if it wasn't for you know these old arcades being placed in popular places like them.
mm, yes. Thank goodness for thank goodness for that. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to play Tekken.
Yeah, Tekken's a great game. I love Tekken.
Yeah, yeah, and before that, one of my neighbors at that time, back in our old place, used to have an old arcade. I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. At although the name was Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles for copyright reasons, and
Love Tekken too.
I also played Dragon Ball Z Budokai, and also the classic
A lot of
Street
good games. A lot of good games.
also Street Fighter. Yeah, I was a Street Fighter gamer, and then when Tekken came along, I've been playing Tekken ever since. Although I miss arcade games, and we need to relive those memories. So yeah, since you've been a retro gamer, which retro game does it need to be remastered or re-released?
All right, everybody. I want to. If once I say this, I want everybody in the chat to like give me some hype for this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what Square Enix did, and Square Enix is one of my favorite. SquareSoft Enix is one of my favorite gaming publishers of all time. I love Enix when they were a separate company. I love Square when they're a separate company. And everybody knows, okay, that knows me. I'm a big RPG guy. Okay, I love my role playing games, especially traditional turn based RPGs. Okay, and I saw what Square Enix did with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I know it got a lot of hate from some people, but I thought that was absolutely amazing. One of my favorite games of this year, last year. It's such a good game, and the vision of how they put that game together. If you guys have not played Final Fantasy VII Remake, I highly suggest. It's free on PlayStation. They gave it out on PlayStation 4 for free. Okay, so please give yourself the opportunity to check it, especially if you're an RPG fan. So with that being said, okay, Squaresoft, like I said, Square Enix is one of my favorite companies. Okay, and after seeing what they did with Final Fantasy VII,
Mm-hmm.
okay, everybody who's a Final Fantasy fan and their mother wants to see Final fucking Fantasy VI, okay, otherwise known as Final Fantasy III for Super Nintendo, be remade, remastered in today's. That story, along with Final Fantasy IV, also known as Final Fantasy II for Super Nintendo, those are the two games that need to be remade, remastered. Not those DS ports, not Game Boy ports or new ports, and stuff like that. It needs to be the way they did Final Fantasy VII and bring those games back to life. because Square Enix is on a roll. Okay, with Dragon Quest 11, which is another favorite game that I absolutely loved of this generation, and Square can do it, and it needs to be done. There needs to be those two games, Final Fantasy VI, which is also known as Final Fantasy III for Super Nintendo, and Final Fantasy IV, which is also known as Final Fantasy II
Yeah.
for Super Nintendo, needs to be and ported to the newer consoles. Period. I think that's just. I think I would lose my total control because that's it.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah,
two games.
yeah, remember that. Yeah, remember that chat. Oh yes, Mayhem just said you are a massive Fortnite fan too. I just I just read the chat. Mayhem said that you're a massive Fortnite fan too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely, those two for sure.
Oh yeah. Which retro game? You know, I know you've been playing retro games, and and you have your own favorites. But for you, which retro game did you enjoy the most playing?
It's definitely got to be you know you know the Dragon Warriors series and the Final Fantasy series. I mean, this my answer can change from depending on my mood, but definitely it always comes back to those two series. And Final Fantasy IV, which is also known as I mentioned Final Fantasy II. Um, for me, I think it's definitely my most enjoyable because I have a lot of nostalgia. It's one of my favorite games of all time because of not just the story, but the impact it had on me as a child. I'm remembering certain events in the game that brought out certain emotions for me, and the way the storytelling was told. And believe it or not, there was Star Wars, which everybody knows I love too. It had a big influence with Final Fantasy, and if people don't know that, if you know the Final Fantasy IV and Star Wars stories, you can see a lot of very similarities in the way the story is being told and how Kane and Golblez and the characters where Cecil is a dark, he needs to become a paladin, where Luke's a farmer and he needs to become a Jedi, and and he can and so, there's a lot of storytelling in that game, and I think that's something I really miss with gaming today, is
Mm-hmm.
that they don't have the same storytelling that they used to, because that's what really got me into that, and the story just was so impactful,
Mm-hmm.
and the emotions of sadness, happiness, crying, you know, um, worriness. I mean, it brought out so emotions that I still play that game and learn to speed run it. And to me, that's one of my favorite games of all time. And I was luckily to be able to have it in my collection, complete in box with the map in great condition. I was lucky to get it, and I actually have another map that comes with the game that I actually framed because I love it so much. Along with Warrior games, man. The Dragon Quest games, to me, Dragon Warrior games were so much fun because for the same reason, the storytelling, the adventure of exploring a dungeon, and the crazy NPC characters that you have to fight. For me, that's probably my most enjoyable retro games, and the ones that I enjoy and bring back a lot of memories and nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, the new, what the new generation of gamers needs. They need to rediscover some of the. They need to discover retro gaming. Most of the modern games, despite aside from the graphics that they think that they suck. If they don't enjoy the current games, they should discover retro gaming and enjoy it.
People always talk about, oh man, the graphics, the graphics, the graphics. Listen, Pac-Man. That's all I gotta say. Pac-Man has still been relevant. Okay, they just released Pac-Man '99
Mm-hmm.
for the Nintendo Switch, which people are enjoying the hell out of. So Pac-Man's still relevant. Graphics, you don't need graphics to
Mm-hmm.
make a great game. You just need a great game to be great. Period. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
You don't need all that stuff. You need a good freaking concept, and Pac-Man was a concept. Okay, that and I know the story. It was a pizza. They sort of he was eating pizza when Pac-Man was discovered, and it's just crazy. You just need a good concept, and and that's it. You don't need to put you know graphics at the top of the list
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, look at games like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and
That
stuff like that. People are still
Tetris,
playing
yeah.
games.
Tetris, all that stuff, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You don't need graphics to make a great game. You just need the great game to be great and great concept,
Mm-hmm.
and people will play it until the end of time. Pac-Man's very old, Donkey Kong's very old, and people are playing the hell out of that. I guarantee if you go on here, you will see people still playing Pac-Man or playing Pac-Man '99 or something. It's great, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the more you play, the more you enjoy the gameplay, the more you play the games, the more chances of you the more chances of playing that game over and over again until the day comes. It will last the more you play those games, the more they will keep on going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, aside from retro games, do you collect
Mm-hmm.
other memorabilia?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody, like I mentioned a couple of times during this interview, I'm a big Star Wars guy, so I have a couple of Star Wars figures, a couple of Star Wars things. We're a big Star Wars family. We love Star Wars, so I do have a couple of things Star Wars related that I've collected and stuff like that. So definitely Star Wars stuff.
Mm-hmm. Have you thought of collecting a Baby Yoda figure?
He has one. He has one. He definitely has a Baby Yoda. My kid loves Star Wars too, and we definitely have a lot of different things that are Star Wars in this house. So definitely.
Yeah, I want to have a Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda's so cute. But yeah, I really enjoy Star Wars. I have a Star Wars. Wait, my oldest brother, has a Star Wars tumbler that is at 7-Eleven. They have a limited edition.
Nice.
When you buy a big gulp or a Slurpee, you collect one.
That's cool.
You know, you know what? They need to do this again. When it comes to when they need to do this again at 7-Eleven. So yeah, wait, hold on. So yeah, now that you are going well with your streams and retro collection and gaming and all that stuff, moving forward, what are your future plans, streaming wise and content wise?
With as I mentioned earlier in this, with the pandemic and things changing, right now my future plans are streaming. Currently, I stream whenever I can. I streamed earlier today. I would like to get back to a schedule and do stuff, but right now I'm not pushing so hard. I burnt
Mm,
out doing this so long. I burnt myself out, and I'm not as savvy as I am because I don't keep up with some of the cool stuff that people are doing with their channel points and stuff like that. Do I want to do that? Sure, but right now my plans are just keeping things simple and fun and entertaining because I don't want it to become stressful or I think that there's a big and if I don't talk about this and it's I noticed, and I don't know if it's something mentally, but people who stream definitely deal with a lot of mental health issues. And I noticed streaming for me has really screwed up my mental health. And you know, I think that it's because we put a lot of content creators, creative people, put a lot of pressure on themselves, and they get into this, you know, mindset, and it's so hard to get out of. They fall into this anxiety or depression, and I've experienced that. So I don't want to get back into that. I'm taking it nice and slow, and and when I'm ready to move forward and push forward, I will. I just want people to, like I said, the reason I started streaming was to share my experiences. If I'm playing a game, and why you're playing this game, and like we talking about it, meeting people that enjoy the same game, and talking about the game and our memories of the game or what game we were playing. Yeah, dude, I remember the first time, this happened in this game. Oh yeah, me too, dude. That was so freaking awesome. Oh yeah, dude. Oh, really? There's a secret code. How did I not know that? Oh, really? So that's what I want to do with streaming, is bring back the fun that I used to have, because it wasn't fun for me at one point. Whereas like video games are supposed to be fun. What happened to the fun? And that's what I think a lot of people like, well, I'm going to play this game because, I'm being sponsored, and, I'm going to hype up this game because, I'm being sponsored or they're giving me money. I'm like, nah, screw that. If I don't want to play that game and I'm not enjoying it anymore, I'm not playing it anymore. And I'm not going to stream it. So for me, I'm going to play the games that I enjoy. Sure, there's a lot of, plans where I would love to, change a lot of things, and, hopefully get back to, where I could be financially, making some, extra cash doing this again as well, which I did at one point. I was able to get, a check once in a while. But, to me, it's just I'm going to have fun with it, and when I'm ready to, once I'm, absolutely, once I'm better, better and organized, and get myself with my health under control, and get everything that I feel that I know I can do, because I've been around on Twitch for a long time, and I know the name changes. Okay, the emotional part where I'm not gonna try to do the same mistakes. I learned a lot. Okay, and something that I know, my future plans, don't act on emotion, because that hurt me a lot. I removed all my followers on Mike and Mama Luke. I deleted my old stuff. So emotions can really play a big part, and I gotta realize that moving forward, and my future plans is not to react on emotions, stream the content that I want, okay? Enjoy the new process, rebuilding, and just, go slow. There's no rush. This is not a sprint. It's a marathon, okay? And even though I've been doing this years and years and years ahead of people, where people have surpassed me in content creation and partnerships and so forth, you know what? That's great for them. I just got to focus on me and do what I want to do, enjoy as far as streaming, and looking at other content avenues which I never looked at before. I'm doing TikTok now, and my TikTok, I know it's small, but I just started, and I'm getting a lot of traction on that, and so eventually I'll be posting stuff about Twitch on, or other streaming platforms that I plan on streaming on. TikTok. My Instagram has grown really well. I'm at 1,400 followers. So my Instagram is probably the my highest right now, like as far as content wise, where I'm just posting stories and games and stuff. I slowed down a little bit because I started doing TikTok, but I definitely want to, definitely putting out content on other social media, I think, is important, and I learned that. And eventually, I would like to bring them into my streaming world once I start streaming more on a regular basis, and when I feel that I'm more organized and I have a better plan. But right now, future plans are very undetermined because of what's going on in the world
Yeah.
with the pandemic. My kid is on the computer doing his homeschooling. His homeschooling. 5 days a week.
Mm.
He's on the computer like most of the day, and then he's got outside activities that handle. So streaming, I have to put it on the back burner right now. And
Yeah.
just do it whenever I can. So and of course with my health. So I want to get everything organized, and once I do, you'll start seeing a different person, and I think a better streamer
Mm-hmm.
and a more focused
Yeah.
streamer. Once everything, I could get all those other things accomplished first.
Mm.
So that's the future plans with streaming and my content.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to that, and we hope that it goes well. And one last question. I know we've
Hmm?
seen a lot of streamers with cool gear and cool equipment. And for you, what is your ideal streamer room? What would be your streamer room look like? Your dream streamer
I don't
room?
have an ideal. You know, I don't actually have an ideal streamer room because I think that there is there it's always evolving. Okay, streamer room's always evolving, so I don't think there's an ideal streamer room. It's like once you feel like, yeah, this is great, this is perfect. I want to change something. I want to add something. So I think it just keeps evolving. I think even the higher level streamers, that have these big extravagant setups.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I think they always thinking, what can I add extra? Oh, I want to get a DLS, a better camera, a better computer. I want to get two computers set up. I want to get a better microphone. Oh, I got a better microphone. Now I need a better, so better background, or I want to get soundproof. I want to do. So I think that for me, there's really not an ideal streamer room because there's always going to be something that you want to add on later on and change because you saw it from another streamer. Because a lot of streamers, we watch other streamers as well. Oh, I like that. I saw what he did on his stream or she did on our stream, and I really like that. I want to add that. How do I do that? And I think that's, for me, the ideal streamer room is always going to be something that's not imaginable because you can't imagine what it can be because it's going to keep evolving and changing with the process of what you're doing. So to me, I don't think there is an ideal streamer room because it's always going to be changing, always going to be adding stuff, and it could be for some it might just be having two computers, or two monitors. For some, it could be having five monitors set up, a five monitor setup, or and four computers and five computers. I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff
Mm-hmm.
on Twitch where this guy has like a dozen freaking monitors and a million
Two.
computers, and he switches and has different green screens set up throughout the whole house. So everybody's setup's going to be different, and I think like I mentioned, the ideal streaming room, it's always going to be something that's unimaginable.
Well, yeah, about the streamer with lots of cameras and setups. Oh, that's so wicked, man. But yeah, if you're comfortable with your streamer room, go for it. And if you want to add something, go ahead. As long as you are comfortable with it, and as long as you are enjoying it. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and before we end it, we have a game show segment that I do this to my guests. It's called the Rapid Test, and it's a quick fire question segment. I'm going to place the questions that I prepared for you. Hold on.
Oh, very cool.
Okay. Is that already placed? Okay, so the questions are already there. All you have to do is to read those questions and answer it loud in a span of 1 minute. Answer it as fast as you can. If those questions are hard for you, uh, feel free to say pass. If you like them both, just say both. I'm going to set the time for 1 minute. Hold on. Okay, okay.
Wow, this is interesting.
Okay, so my timer is ready. Uh, everything's all ready. How about you? Are you ready? Are you ready, Mikey?
Yep, I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, the timer starts now.
Favorite sport? MMA. Mario, Luigi, Mario. Chick-fil-A or Popeye? Neither, because I never actually had either one. Favorite food? Ice cream. Favorite video game? Man, it's tough pass. Mac or PC? PC, absolutely. Best Law or Order series? Pass. I don't know. Best CSI? I don't know because I don't watch. Best Looney Tune characters? Probably Bugs Bunny. Favorite Hanna-Barbera character? Oh, that's tough. I don't even know. Batman or Superman? Superman, because I've been watching the hell out of Superman, and Lewis is great. Android, absolutely, because I'm an Android user. Favorite Marvel movie? Probably something with X-Men. Favorite cereal? Oh, that's tough. Pass. Favorite food place?
Okay, 10 seconds left.
Longhorns. Favorite console? Super NES. Favorite TV show? Pass. Favorite Nintendo
3,
game?
2, 1, and
Pass.
that's the 1 minute. If you can answer the remaining questions, feel free to answer it.
Which one?
The remaining questions that you have.
Okay, answer the remaining questions. One word to describe your stream: controversial. Definitely controversial. 3 words to describe your streamer room: simple, needs work, good for now.
Okay.
Dream place to visit: I definitely want to go back to Italy and visit Rome and stuff like that. Favorite thing to do besides streaming? Man, play video games, obviously. Play video games, man. Marvel or DC? I prefer Marvel. I love M&M's with Skittles. Favorite movie of all time? Oof. Probably Big. Believe it or not, Big in Star Wars. I mean, Back to the Future. Man, that's tough. That's tough. Back to the Future, Big, and Star Wars. Something maybe. There's so many great favorite movies. I'm gonna go with those 3. Favorite pizza topping?
Oh wait.
I don't know. I'm gonna pass or not.
Okay, there's a double question in favorite pizza topping. I'm going to remove that one. Okay, so yeah, favorite pizza topping. Yeah,
Pizza topping. There's so many good ones. There's so many good ones. 3 things you can't live without. My son, my wife, and food and water. Favorite musical instrument? Probably piano and guitar. Favorite restaurant? Longhorns. I mentioned that.
yeah, the last one, the favorite
Favorite pizza
pasta.
topping?
Yeah,
Oh
there's
man,
double. There's
I
an
mentioned
error. So yeah,
that's tough.
yeah.
That's tough, man. I'm gonna have to pass. Anything but
Mm-hmm.
anchovies. No anchovies on pizza.
I
Period.
haven't.
Anything else, I'm okay with.
Well, I haven't tried anchovy, so yeah. So yeah, for me, and so yeah, mushroom or anything, but yeah, anchovies or pineapple and stuff. But yeah,
Anchovies gotta go.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, with that, I just want to say thank you so much, Mikey Loves Retro. I really appreciate it. If you want to follow Mikey for future streams and updates, go follow his Twitch, twitch.tv/ Mikey Loves Retro. And he also streams on Glimash at some point. Glimash.tv/ Mikey Loves Retro. I just want to say once again, thank you, Mikey. We'll be right back in just a moment for 2 minutes. Hold on. Well, yeah, we're back, and we are stream. However, if you guys want to join the raid, feel free to join before. But before that, say that there will be another stream on Friday and Saturday. It will be 2 interviews. There will be 2 interviews next week. Uh, if you so far it's not yet final, but I will announce it by Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. That's Mr. Parmy. Uh, don't forget to follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mr. Parmy. And for those of you who wants to join the raid, feel free to join the raid. Feel free to spam emotes from other channels. Let's spread some hype. Let's spread all the. Wait, hold on. I think I typed the wrong command. There you go. There you go. Oh yeah. We have a raid call to end the stream. Uh, we are going to read the. Hold on. Let's see if Rani is online. He is playing Rocket League right now. Let me check if Rani is online or Rani is live right now. Hold on. So yeah, once again, there will be more streams on Friday and Saturday. I'll be doing 2 interviews, and then on the last week, within the last week, I'll be doing another interview and then a gameplay. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, we are going to raid the. I'm going to raid Rani. He is playing Rocket League. Here we go. We are going to raid Rani. If you guys want to spam some emotes from other channels, feel free to spam emotes. Feel free to don't forget to put a Parmesan raid. Uh, yeah. So for now, Mike, do the honors.
Sure, absolutely. All right, from every community out there to the rest of the world, I'm MikeyLovesRetro, and this is Mr. Parmy. Love hugs, high fives, fist bumps. To all, have a wonderful Saturday. Goodbye!
Have a good one, everyone. Goodbye.